Great. Well, okay, so now with that jazz behind us, we want to move into trying to help you improve your memory. So let me just ask, how many people here would wish that their memory was better than it is? Okay. So we have an audience that wants to get better. So I'm going to tell you here, we have about next 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to give you a guideline. I'm going to give you 6 steps to a better memory. And since I'm a professor, I have a hard time resisting giving you a quiz at the end. So I just want to forewarn, that's one of the risks of putting a professor up here. So let's talk about the first step to a better memory is to exercise regularly. So people who are more fit, who exercise, who have more cardiovascular fitness, show less decline in memory and thinking abilities, bigger brain volume, and reduced risk for Alzheimer's disease. Aerobic exercise can even be begun late in life. For all of you, it's not too late. If you have Alzheimer's, it's not too late. Exercise at any stage in life will improve memory, improve brain function, and increase the size of the memory circuits in your brain. And I said, even if those who have Alzheimer's, if you know someone who has Alzheimer's, a spouse or a parent, if you can find a way to do it carefully, you can improve their memory at that point. You can keep them from getting worse by getting them to exercise. So how does this work? Well, exercise improves the brain's garbage collection. Okay, anybody here ever gone through a garbage strike? Okay, you know how the roadways get all clogged and everything's hard to happen? Well, there's a lot of garbage that gets produced in the brain. As the brain cells are working, they produce garbage, and that garbage has to be cleared away, and there are garbage clearing processes in the brain. And these begin to decline in aging, in Alzheimer's, in diabetes. The ability of the brain to clear garbage from the streets inside the brain gets worse. And exercise, one of the ways that exercise improves your brain is it ramps up the ability of these garbage collectors in the brain to clear out the junk. Because if it doesn't happen, your brain pathways become like the streets in a garbage strike. Nothing gets through. 6 months of exercise, and we've talked about the programs that we're going to do here that are about 6 months, is enough to see really noticeable improvements in a wide variety of aspects of memory. So this is a graph. This is what we get from the laboratories. This is not my laboratory, but from the laboratory of one of our collaborators. And they show the difference between the exercise group, the people who've done 6 months of exercise, that's the yellow bars, and the blue are the control group. The control group are the people who didn't do the exercise, but we test them before and after as well. And it's really important for all the research that we do to have both the people who we've done the intervention and a comparison group. And what you can see here is that for executive function, the ability to keep track of all the different things that you have to do and the different dishes that you have on the stove, that improves. Controlling, how to keep track of all the things in your life improves. Spatial navigation, how to remember to get from this point to that point and how to do all that navigating, that improves. Speed, just your ability to do all the various processes, to come back with the answers, all improves. So 6 months, we can see these kinds of differences compared to people who are otherwise just the same but don't do that exercise. A key part of the brain, I'm going to teach you a little bit about the brain and neuroscience here. A key part of the brain is the hippocampus, and it's like the gateway to memory. It's not where memories are stored, but it's where memories have to pass through on their way to being stored. And it is damaged. It's one of the first areas damaged in Alzheimer's, but it's also damaged in post-traumatic stress for people who've had trauma, as well as in depression. Here you see a picture of the size of people's hippocampus when they began, 6 months after exercise, okay, that's the blue line, and 12 months, a year after exercise. And you can see that even after 6 months, you're seeing that these people have a bigger hippocampus. Now you might say, how do we know they have a bigger hippocampus? And that gets back to the brain imaging we talked about. If you put somebody in the brain imaging magnet, and I have a friend here, Deacon Francis Dixon, who came and did one of our brain imaging studies, and we can see then the size of the hippocampus, and we can see how the hippocampus changes from exercise. And there's some studies by one of our collaborators showing this. Another way to see the importance of the hippocampus is we look at people who are very fit, who have a lot of cardiovascular strength, and those who don't. And what you see is the more fit people are, the bigger their hippocampus. So the hippocampus is critical not only in memory, but it's changed by exercise. And we think that's a causal relationship. The more we can get you to exercise, the fitter you can be, the bigger your hippocampus, the better your memory. Everyone can benefit from exercise. Nobody in this room is exempt, not even Diane and I. And however you get your heart rate going, okay, it's going to help. So how does this work? How does exercise help your brain? Well, part of the reason exercise is so powerful is it doesn't just have one mechanism or two or three or four or five. There are at least 6 ways in which exercise can improve your memory. It reduces stress, it improves sleep, it reduces your chance for strokes, it reduces blood sugar. And we know that there's a lot of diabetes in the black community. When you have diabetes, your blood sugar is spiking. And every time your blood sugar goes high, guess what it does? It kills the hippocampus. So if you are diabetic or you're pre-diabetic or at risk, every time your blood sugar is fluctuating, you're inching a little bit closer to Alzheimer's. So exercise can control that. Exercise helps the new brain cells grow, it helps the new ones survive, and it helps produce blood to the brain. Okay, and I often tell people one of the reasons we have such a wonderful partnership with the American Heart Association is that I tell people that the brain is the heart's biggest and most important client. Okay, so one of the most important places for blood to go in your body is to your brain. And when you exercise, you are turbocharging your heart's ability to supply that vital blood and fuel to the brain. So some general conclusions about exercise and brain power. Exercise has widespread effects on the brain, not just the hippocampus. Even moderate intensity exercise for several days a week can improve both your mood and your memory. It's not too late for anyone, certainly not anyone in this room. And exercise may have long-term health consequences for preventing diseases like Alzheimer's. And part of what we want to do here is show how we can develop exercise programs that are embedded in the churches, in the senior centers, in public housing. And we want to show how by doing that embedding of exercise programs to bringing them to you, that we can not only improve your memory, but we can reduce your risk for Alzheimer's. And that's really our goal. So lifestyle recommendation number 1 from Rutgers University is get regular aerobic exercise. So I want to remind, a lot of people say, I'm really into sports, okay? Well, being really into sports, like these people here, okay, these sports fans, that's not what we're talking about. So these people that we see here, this is the do not do group, okay? These should not be your role models. Doesn't count how much sports you watch on TV. So you might ask, okay, if these guys are not my role models, who should my role models be? So I want to introduce you to a woman who I think is a fabulous role model for this community. And her name is Ida Keeling, and she was born in 1916. And for those of you who are good at math, that means she's 100 years old. Okay? Ida Keeling is very small, 4'6", she's 83 pounds. She's had a tough life. She raised 4 children as a single mother in public housing. She worked in a sewing factory, and her life got harder. At 67, 2 of her children, 2 of her boys, died in the streets in violent deaths in New York. And she plunged into a deep depression, which we can all understand. Okay? She just felt there was nothing really left. And her daughter dragged her out of that depression by dragging her out and exercising. And she began at the age of 67 to start running and start exercising. And where do you think she is today? Today she holds the world record for the fastest time in the 60-meter dash for women 95 plus. Okay? That's Ida Keeling. And you see some photos there of her working out, running, 4'6", tiny, okay, and her trophy. Now, we hope, not today, but maybe next time, to actually bring her out, because she lives in New York. But because we didn't bring her out today, I want to still introduce you to her in a virtual way. Let's see if...
Sitting around doing nothing, that's the best to me. Think about it, oh boy. I feel like a puppy every day.
You heard all of these in your 90s.
Yes.
Part of her secret, her tiny stationary bike, her tiny weight. Her fighting spirit came early. There was another secret.
So you actually run in the hallways?
Of course.
Show me.
That's what I'm going right here.
She was off, and so were we.
So this is
where I go.
how much further do you go?
Ida not only trains indoors,
Back to my door.
Finished.
Ooh.
she trains outdoors too. And there was one last secret, her quiet moments off the track.
Well, I just close my eyes and say, count your blessings, Ida, count your blessings. Stay alert and focus. And that's it.
So that's Ida Keeling. And maybe some of you think that you're going to take that record away from her. Okay? Could be. So lifestyle recommendation number 2 is keep mentally active. Okay? Think of your brain as a muscle that has to have exercise. So you want challenging mental activity. You want to be reading, playing instruments, dancing, doing crosswords, or attending lectures like this, or other lectures at Rutgers. People who are mentally active have half the risk of Alzheimer's disease. And being mentally active increases their brain. It's very much like physical exercise. Mental exercise, physical exercise, they all converge on the same thing. It creates a cognitive reserve. The more you're thinking, the more you're using your brain, the more you can afford to lose a few of the cells to Alzheimer's because you got extra ones. It increases the growth of new connections. So all of these ways, it's very much the way of you want to use it, whether it's Sudoku or playing chess, or you know what's going to happen if you don't use it? Lose it. Okay? We talked before about being observing sports. Well, observing things. People who watch TV, every hour that you watch TV in your later years increases your risk for Alzheimer's disease. And it's not that the TV is the boob tube that rots your brain, like your mother said, but it's more of a marker for what you're not doing. When you're sitting there slack-jawed watching one show over the other, you're not challenging your brain, you're not engaging with people, you're not out physically active. So the lifestyle recommendation, people say, what should I do to keep my brain active, to grow my hippocampus, to grow new cells? You know, if I do Sudoku once a day, if I do the crossword puzzle once a week, is that going to do it? And all of those things help, but the most important thing you need to do is learn something new, okay? Keep your brain, the brain is like the shark. You know the shark, if it stops swimming, it sinks? So the brain, if it stops swimming through new knowledge, it's going to sink. So there are 3 steps to learning something new. To observe someone else, to practice, and then to rehearse. So let me take another poll here. How many people here would like to grow new brain cells? Anybody here? Okay. So everybody here wants to grow new brain cells, so we're going to do that. Right here and now, we're going to grow new brain cells. And the way we're going to do that is by learning something new. Okay? But learning something new on your own is tough. So I have some friends here, and I need a little help from my friends. So I'd like to call up Denise Dungy from Pilgrim Baptist Church. Come on up. Sharon Rogers, Diana Jones from Hillside, and Connie Woodson from Grace West. And if there's anybody else in the audience who has a song in their heart, I want you to feel free to come up and join us. Come on up here. Come on. This is to help. We're going to help grow. We're going to help all of our friends partner. Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to come on, join us? Anybody else with a song in their heart who wants to come up? Okay. Thank you all. Okay, come on. We're all going to come in here. We're all going to grow some new brain cells together. And this is a choir. So I think we're all set. So we're all going to sing. So we're going to learn something new here. And what we're going to learn is a song. And for some of you, you may know this song, and that gives you a boost. For others, it's a new song. And we're going to learn by observing. We're going to start by observing somebody else. Then we're going to practice piece by piece. And since I'm not a really nasty professor, they're going to be hints, okay? Just so you know. And then you can go home and rehearse it. So let's start by just watching somebody else do it right. Let's see. Why is this not working? This is not working. We've got a problem here. Okay, this is not working. So we're going to have to do this without Bob Hope. Any idea why this is not? Yeah, I'm trying to click it. I'm trying to click the screen. It should go automatically.
I'm not sure.
Okay. So we don't have, this is Bob Hope and Shirley Ross in a 1938 movie. So normally we have their singing along, but we're going to have to do it ourselves, okay?
And
We're going to need a lot of help now. We're going to need a lot of friends because we've had what's known in the business as technical difficulties. Okay? So you all seen this song before?
I've seen
Okay?
Yeah.
So let's try it now. Ready? We're going to do it without them. The good news is we don't have to match their key and we don't have to match their pace. We're going to do our own. Okay? So ready? So it's thanks for the memories of rainy afternoons, swingy Harlem tunes, and motor trips and burning lips and burning toast and prunes. How lovely it was. Thanks for the memories of candlelight and wine, castles on the Rhine, the Parthenon and moments on the Hudson River line. How lovely it was. Okay, so you all now saw some, even without Bob Hope. I'm okay, we're fine, I'm okay. So now we're going to get everyone involved, but now there's going to be a little bit of a memory part. We were just reading here, okay? Now we're going to challenge the memory circuits. Okay, so now we're going to do it with hints. Are you ready to start again with hints? Okay. Thanks for the memories of rainy afternoons, swingy Harlem tunes, and motor trips and burning lips and burning toast and prunes. How lovely it was. Thanks for the memories of rainy afternoons. There. Thanks for the memories of candlelight and roof-line, castles on the Rhine, the Parthenon and moments on the Hudson River line. How lovely it was. Great, thank you all.
What a memory.
Okay, that's the chorus. Thank you all. Whoa, okay. So, we've all grown new brain cells, but these four ladies have grown a few extra ones.
All right.
Okay, thank you all. Even without Bob Hope and Shirley Ross, we were able to do it. So, thank you. So, let's talk about something we don't want. We want to avoid unproductive stress. So, tip number 3 is avoid unproductive stress. Now, a lot of people say unproductive stress, all stress is bad, okay? That people think stress, I got to get rid of stress in my life. But that's not really what you want, because stress is not an accident. It's not something that's a mistake in our bodies or our brains. It's there for a purpose. And the problem is we don't always use stress for the purpose. So I want to explain to you here a little bit about stress. But first, as a quick memory test. Okay? How many of you know what this is?
Star Trek.
That's Star Trek. And how many of you remember who's the captain? Captain Kirk. Okay? And how many of you remember who were Kirk's biggest enemies out in space? The Klingons. Wow. You can tell she's got her memory circuits. That's right. So the Klingons. And the Klingons would attack. And Captain Kirk was in charge. And what did he do when the Klingons attacked? Okay, very stressful situation for everyone on the Starship Enterprise. So Kirk had 3 standing orders when they were under attack. Life threat, the Klingons were going to blast them. He gave 3 orders. Order number 1, release all unnecessary cargo. You want to save weight. You want the Enterprise to be light and nimble. 2, he said, shut down all non-essential systems. Stop cooking. Stop repairing things for the future. Stop working with the lights. Everybody, all hands on deck. If it has to be focused on the next 5 minutes, we have to escape the Klingons, okay? Anything long-term of value, it's not relevant right now. And last, what he did is he sent a message down to the engine room. And who's down in the engine room? Scotty. Wow. And he told Scotty, give me warp factor 7. And what did Scotty say? Scotty said, oh, Captain, I cannot, the engines, the dilithium crystals, they cannot take the strain. And Kirk would say, damn the dilithium crystals, give me the warp factor, we need to escape. Kirk didn't care about the fact that he was going to run down Scotty's engines. He knew that what really mattered was surviving the next 5 minutes and not being destroyed by the Klingons. And Scotty did what he was told. and the Enterprise survived for another episode, at least for 2 years, until they canceled the whole thing. But so that's how Captain Kirk survives. So you might ask, what does this have to do with stress? So what your body does when you're in a stressful situation is very much the same thing that Captain Kirk does. So the first thing your body does, so you might ask, what kind of stress? Okay? You all say, oh, I had such a stressful day. Well, our body's stress response evolved a long time ago. And it evolved for stresses like this. Saber-toothed tigers, okay? Been a long time since you saw them on Raymond Boulevard, okay? But your brain is still wired to expect a saber-toothed tiger on Raymond Boulevard. So what does your brain do when it sees something like a saber-toothed tiger? Okay, your brain does exactly what it should do, and it does exactly what Captain Kirk does. The first thing it does is it lightens up. It voids all unnecessary cargo, which leads to an expression I won't repeat in its entirety. The second thing it does is it says, all hands on deck. Every part of the brain and body focus on the current stressful situation. So all non-essential systems, your immune system, don't worry about those bugs. Menstrual system, babies are another matter for another day. Sleep, we're not going to sleep now with a saber-toothed tiger on Raymond Boulevard. So all these things which aren't necessary to the next 5 minutes, all shut down. It's why you get sick when you're stressed, okay? It's why women may stop menstruating. It's why you stay up all night. Because all these things are not essential to surviving the saber-toothed tiger on Raymond Boulevard. And lastly, a message goes down to the brain to ramp up to warp speed, okay? Now, where do you think in the brain that message goes? Well, sometimes to the feet. Good answer. That's a good answer. That's a creative answer. It definitely goes to the feet, but it also goes to the hippocampus. The hippocampus is where the brain's engine is for memory. And everything in the brain ramps up. Okay? Everything in the brain ramps up. And stress, when there's a saber-toothed tiger, is good. Okay? All of this is important. You get a faster brain and body responses, body including those feet. Okay? You get very focused attention. All you can see is the saber-toothed tiger. And you get very alert. You notice that there's another tiger coming around the corner. You notice this. Your vision, your alertness, everything is in absolute tune. So stress is really, really good. And that's exactly why we've evolved to have these stress responses. Okay? But stress comes with a cost. Remember Scotty saying, oh, the dilithium crystals, we're going to burn them? Well, the same thing happens. There's a cost to going into warp factor 7 on your brain. Stress hormones are toxic to the hippocampus. They destroy it. Every time you get a stress reaction, it's another half step towards Alzheimer's because it's killing those same brain cells. Okay? Stress releases a chemical called cortisol, which stops the growth of new cells. Okay? So you're not getting these new replenished cells that you should get. It decreases the size of the hippocampus, that hippocampus that you want to keep growing, that we're going to try to grow when you come to our Zumba classes. It goes the other way. Women, of whom we are well represented here today at all our events, are especially vulnerable, partly because of reproductive hormones in younger women, but even throughout the lifespan past menopause, women respond to stress differently and more toxically. So, lifestyle recommendation number 3 from your friends at Rutgers is avoid counterproductive stress reactions. And this is where exercise and sleep come in because they help you manage stress. So, lifestyle recommendation when unproductive stress, okay? When you're stuck, okay, on the New Jersey Turnpike, okay, and you're late for your appointment, okay? When you're on the phone with your banker and he's telling you you've got a negative balance in your checking account, okay? Now, those are stress, okay? But those aren't saber-toothed tigers. Neither of those are going to kill you in the next 5 minutes, but your body doesn't know that. So when you go into stress, your body is doing everything it needs to get away from the saber-toothed tiger, but that's not clearing the traffic on I-76, and that's not changing your bank account. So it's not productive stress. So every time you start to get stressed, you got to imagine that somewhere down in your hippocampus, there's a little Scotty, and that little Scotty is saying, oh, but Captain, my hippocampus, it can't take the stress. Okay? And just be kind to your hippocampus. So, lifestyle recommendation number 4, fourth step, get a good night's sleep. Okay, now a lot of people, that's hard. You've got 2 jobs, you're working late, you've got a lot of stress. Okay, so why is sleep important for memory? You think I can get away with sleep? So let me tell you a little bit about sleep. But before I tell you a little bit about sleep, let's talk about something. How many people here like to go shopping? We got people here? Anybody here think of themselves sort of borderline shopaholic? Just can't help themselves? Okay. We got a lot of people here who love to shop. So for those of you who love to shop, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to be a really good shopper. Okay? A really good, well-trained shopper goes out, does a lot of shopping, loads up with all the things that she can buy, and she comes home and she does 3 things because she's an efficient shopper. She reviews and organizes. What did she shop for? What did she buy? She discards the excess, those bags, the tissues, the ropes, the cards, and everything else. We throw away all the things we didn't really want to bring home. And then when we have the stuff that we really want, then we have to put it away. Then we put away the shoes here and the dresses there and so forth. Because you have to put everything away and throw away what you don't need so you can be ready tomorrow to go out shopping again. And that's the shopaholic. So sleep does exactly the same thing, sort of. So sleep, the first parts of sleep. During the night when you're sleeping, you didn't go shopping, but you brought memories home. The things that happened, the things you remembered, they all come back home in sleep. And during sleep, your brain, while you're asleep, is reviewing what you learned during the day. It's organizing what you learned during the day. And it's taking the things that happened, not everything that happened during. You don't want to have a perfect memory for the last 12 hours you were awake. You actually want to forget a lot of things that are unessential, not because they're bad memories, but because they're not essential. You want to pick out what's really important to help you get through the rest of your life. So you want to review, you want to organize, you want to discard the excess. But all that's happening in the hippocampus. Remember the hippocampus, our memory's best friend? But the hippocampus isn't where memories last. There's kind of like a gateway. It's a temporary area. So the next stage is that the memories that you've reviewed and organized, they have to be sent out to their storage. That's like putting the shoe in the shoebox and the dress in the counter. The memories have to go from the hippocampus to where in the brain they need to be stored. So sleep is a very complex process. And it's not all one thing. When you go through sleep, there are many stages. And one of the things we study in our lab are these different stages of sleep and how each stage has its own purpose. Okay? And these stages happen differently throughout the night. So early in night, we have something called slow wave sleep. And during slow wave sleep, what things we believe is happening is memories are stabilized and memories are organized. Later in the night, we get REM sleep. And REM sleep is very important for emotional control, for not snapping like a bulldog when somebody crosses you the next day, for knowing how to respond emotionally. It's also important for determining what's important to store. Without that REM sleep, you're not really sure what the right things are to be stored. And that REM sleep happens late at night. And that's important because a lot of people who go to sleep, they cut off at the end. They wake their alarm wakes them up an hour or 2 hours before they really need to wake up, before they want to wake up. And they think, well, it's only an hour and a half or 2 hours out of the night. But what's happening? If you sleep just 6 hours rather than, say, 7.5, you're losing half of your REM sleep. You're not just losing a little sleep at the end, you're losing half of the REM, because the REM, that really golden REM, is coming at the end. So it's really important to let your body and brain tell you how long you need to sleep. So an interim summary. So let's talk about sleep. Sleep is essential for stabilizing, organizing, optimizing, and keeping permanent all the new skills that happen during the day. If you don't sleep well at night, you've wasted the day's learning. The sleep is critical for this dialogue. It's this learning that goes on between the hippocampus and the memory. Sleep disruption in aging and disease is one of the reasons why you see a lot of memory impairments. The reason you see a lot of age-related memory impairments in Alzheimer's is because of sleep. And even a short nap can be helpful. Nap for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you do, that engages some of the sleep effects on memory. So sleep recommendation number 4 is sleep more at night and take naps. And you might ask, well, how am I going to sleep better? So here are a couple of tips, and you'll hear more later. So here are a couple of good sleep habits. Okay? Sleep habit number 1 is you want a regular bedtime. Make it a habit to go to sleep at whatever hour you choose. You want a totally dark and clear and a cool room. You don't want phones or computer screens in your bedroom. Okay? They're toxic to sleep. You want no caffeine, or at least no caffeine in the afternoon. And you want to avoid alcohol in the evening. Because people say, well, alcohol helps me fall asleep. Well, alcohol may help you fall asleep, but then it cuts out the REM and the other phases. It gives you quick, bad, short sleep. So alcohol doesn't help you sleep well. It helps you fall asleep badly, quickly. So the last, number 5, is you want to socialize with others. Well, all of you here are socializing with others because you're here today. You're socializing when you're at the churches or the senior centers. So socialize. You are all get extra credit and an A+ for number 5 today. Whatever else you did. If you didn't exercise, if you weren't active, if you weren't stressful, if you didn't sleep last night, you were socializing with others and you get an A on number 5. So living alone in midlife doubles your risk for dementia and Alzheimer's. Animal studies confirm that animals that are raised together, that live together, have less of that gunk in the brain that need to be removed. And social intellectual stimulation, the interaction with other people, is key to keeping your brain active. So friends are key to brain health. And I've shown up here just a few of my friends, which you can see. Some of you are here in the audience. So these are some of my friends who keep my brain healthy. Friends are also useful because if they're old friends who go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they remember things that you forget, and they can fill in the gaps. So let's see if this is going to work. No, that's not going to work. So it's too late. So the last tip is we want to eat light and healthy. Okay? So what's that brain healthy diet? So you want to manage body weight and avoid obesity. Manage body weight, avoid obesity. You want to avoid added sugar. So sugar that's added on top of whatever is there naturally. Okay? And you want to eat brain and heart protective foods. That's dark fruits, vegetables, cold water fish like tuna, and nuts. All of those together, what people often think of as like a Mediterranean-style diet. All of those are the kind of brain and heart healthy food. And you're going to see some of that, you're going to hear about some of that, and you're going to taste some of that in a little bit. So eat a brain healthy diet. Now I promised you all that, or I confessed to you all, that as a professor I can't resist giving an exam. So we're going to have a final exam, and we're going to do it in a friendly way. So everyone's going to shout out the answer, and if you don't know the answer, you just move your lips, and people will think that you know the answer. Okay? So I'm going to go through, and I'm going to see whether you know all 6 in order. It's not an easy question. Okay? But because I want to get to that lunch, and I see that that's going to be coming soon, I'm going to give you a hint, just like when the singing. So there'll be a picture that helps you remember them. So are we ready? We ready for the final exam? So number 1. Number 2. Yes. Number 3. Wow. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Okay, all 6. Now, all 6 are important, but today and for the next little part of our presentation, we're going to focus on 3 of them. Okay? So Ashley Shaw, who's a postdoctoral fellow in my laboratory, is going to talk to you about how to exercise regularly. And then Dr. Inés Sotolongo from the VA hospital is going to come up and talk to you a bit more about getting a good night's sleep. And finally, Margaret Camerari from the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, is not only going to tell you how to eat light and healthy, she's going to tell you how you are about to eat light and healthy. Okay? So let me turn over to Ashley Shaw. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all.
All right, good. Oh, it's still morning.